Wondering what else is out there is a core part of the human experience, whether it's taking a peek into a dark forest or looking out into the cosmos. We can't help but imagine what we might be missing. And in this world of ghosts, cryptids, aliens, and all other sorts of phenomena, there's a big emphasis on belief. This, of course, has led to a split, the true believers and the skeptics. But while skeptics are often thought of as wholly against accepting any sort of otherworldly phenomena, when we look a little closer, we often find that that isn't the case at all. They just want proof.
The truth is out there, but so are lies.
And that drive to disprove, or maybe even possibly prove, these seemingly unexplainable things often means that some skeptics can't help but get drawn into this world. So what keeps pulling us skeptics in? And could we even be the key to unlocking the truth about these kinds of mysteries?
All right, I'm afraid. But it's an irrational fear.
People have enjoyed telling stories about all varieties of cryptids, ghosts, interdimensional entities, beings from space, and more, since essentially the beginning of storytelling itself. The nature of and large-scale interest in these kinds of stories has fluctuated over the millennia and across cultures. But in more recent times, there's been a particularly large surge of interest since around the mid-19th century that has continued into the present day. There's always been a desire to know what's going to happen to us after we die, and the hope that we can still somehow be in contact with our loved ones who have passed on, and so ghost stories in particular have kept a hold on our imaginations. As Casey Sepp wrote for The New Yorker, there were many reasons that interest in spiritualism spiked in the mid and late 19th century, but one major reason lay in the fact that at the time, an estimated 20 to 40% of children died before the age of 5, and scholars often point to this fact to help account for the appeal of spiritualism. But it was worse in the preceding centuries. For some time, the child mortality rate had been falling. What mattered more was that the average family size was shrinking too, at the same time that modern ideas of childhood were taking hold, trends that combined to make the loss of any child seem that much more anguishing. But in tandem with this rise in interest came a rise of skeptics, and they had very good reasons to question much of the fervor around connections with the beyond, which we'll go into more in a moment.
Maybe you're just seeing what you want to see.
Aliens and cryptids also speak to the human desire to know that there's something else out there, things beyond our understanding or comprehension that are affecting our world and maybe even changing it. According to a recent Gallup poll, 4 in 10 Americans now think some UFOs that people have spotted have been alien spacecraft visiting Earth from other planets or galaxies.
So this isn't an X-File.
Sure it is. It's unexplained. What do you want? Aliens? Tractor beams?
In addition to this need for more, to find some new mysteries to explore that could explain things that we don't understand in a fantastical way, is that aspect of the hunt itself. To not just be a passive observer, but actually the one to go out and find these beings and connections, to make sense of something that seemed previously incomprehensible, and thus give yourself a greater feeling of control. Ben Crair wrote in his piece for Smithsonian Magazine about the continued belief in and search for Bigfoot. The hunt for Bigfoot emulates an earlier mode of discovery, when new knowledge was not the product of advanced degrees and expensive machinery, but rather curiosity, bravery, patience, and survival. This desire to root out the mysteries of the universe and prove that the paranormal or otherwise unexplainable is in fact real and true has often come to be rooted in belief rather than hard proof, which of course causes problems when other people want to see literally any actual evidence before jumping on board. There's an idea held by some that if you don't believe, then you likely won't experience these kinds of otherworldly phenomena because you aren't open to it. So if you can't get evidence, it's all on you. Skeptics, of course, aren't a big fan of this explanation. If these things are in fact real, then they should be quantifiable in some way, especially now that we live in a world where nearly everyone has a high-quality video and audio recording device on them at all times. But the skepticism also rests on the fact that so much of what has been claimed as proof was in fact faked. Indeed, back in the late 19th century and early 20th century explosion of interest in spiritualism, from seances to ghost photos and more, many of those who rose to stardom for their abilities were eventually outed as charlatans. Harry Houdini even dedicated the later part of his career specifically to proving how all of their so-called proof was really just sleight of hand tricks. The divide between believers and skeptics has continued at pace into the modern day, as we've seen a boom of paranormal, cryptid, and alien hunting TV shows.
My partner, a skeptic. Myself, a believer.
One of the most iconic representations of this split comes from The X-Files, which sparked an interest in the supernatural in a new generation when it hit TV screens in the 90s. The show follows two FBI agents, true believer Fox Mulder, who has never met a conspiracy theory or supernatural phenomena he can't believe in, and Dana Scully, an ardent skeptic, who was sent in by the higher-ups to take a look at Mulder's weird case files from a scientific perspective, and ideally disprove them.
Admittedly, there's not a lot of hard evidence to back that up.
You know why? Because those creatures don't exist, Mulder.
In the pair, we see the classic stereotypical divide. The paranoid believer, who is often seen as crazy because of their out-there ideas, and the hardline skeptic, who is going to make sure that they cross off every other possibility before they even start thinking about paranormal explanations.
Well, why is it still so hard for you to believe, even when all the evidence suggests extraordinary phenomena?
Looking for extreme possibilities makes you blind to the probable explanation right in front of you.
But we also see another key element in their pairing as well, the fact that they work best together. Mulder is often too willing to believe any and everything without even stopping to think about some more rational explanations. So having Scully around to pull him back down to earth, sometimes literally, actually helps him in his quest to find real proof. And for her part, Scully remains a pretty ardent non-believer even after she's seen some pretty wild, unexplainable phenomena. But being around Mulder and actually having these experiences does open her mind to the possibilities of it. But she importantly never gives up her drive to find concrete evidence. But this is also something that causes yet another rift between the two camps. What really counts as evidence? Capturing indisputable evidence of paranormal phenomena is hard, but scheduling your doctor's appointments doesn't have to be. Let ZocDoc take something off your plate and make your life a little easier. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and much more. They make it super easy. You can search by location, availability, and insurance, so you won't feel forced to make any compromises. You can read through reviews from real patients to get a feel for each doctor. And then when you find one you like, you can book them instantly. No need to call and listen to bad hold music while hoping they'll have an availability. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. Using ZocDoc has made finding and booking a doctor so much easier for me. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/thetake to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/thetake. ZocDoc.com/thetake. The idea of what constitutes concrete proof of any of these phenomena varies wildly depending on who you ask.
But to say that they've been riding around in flying saucers, it's crazy, Mulder. There is nothing to support that.
Nothing scientific, you mean?
Some people see any speck of dust or noise that goes bump in the night as incontrovertible evidence of the paranormal, and actually become quite upset when a skeptic comes in and points out that it's just a light flare or a possum rummaging around in a nearby trash can. This anger can arise from the fact that having evidence shot down can feel like having one's entire belief system shot down. But the more clearly not real evidence that is touted as hard proof, the more people who don't already believe get pushed into skepticism. While Scully was confronted with a lot of actual weird, mysterious, and often literally out-of-this-world phenomena before she finally started to give in and open herself up to believing a little bit, the amount of proof we've been provided in the real world has often worked to tip the scale in the other direction.
You put the whammy on him.
Please explain to me the scientific nature of the whammy.
With the rise of paranormal hunting shows, searching for ghosts, cryptids, aliens, and anything else that can be seen in night vision, we've also seen a rise in pretty obviously fake, or if we're being generous, very hard to take seriously, evidence. These shows often start out feeling quite genuine, like the people involved really do feel like they'll be able to capture something amazing and undeniable. But as the seasons roll on, they often come to feel more and more produced, clearly more concerned with filling time and finding places to put big red circles on the screen than finding any real proof. Many have even been charged with straight up faking evidence. Ghost hunters, who had long framed themselves as regular people just looking for truth, using their knowledge of the inner workings of buildings to help debunk a lot of alleged haunting activity, ended up falling into a huge scandal when one of them was caught seemingly faking evidence during a hunt. And all of this, unsurprisingly, just adds to the skepticism. If people who literally hunt these things for a living, with thousands of dollars of equipment and ample time, can't find seemingly any undeniable evidence for these phenomena, it doesn't bode well for their existence. evidence.
That same moth is flying to each lit candle in sequential order, passing through the flames without catching on fire or dying.
Not to mention the way that these shows are often presented leads one to wonder how much even the people involved really believe in any of it. If you really genuinely believed that you were conversing with the spirit of, say, a woman who had been brutally murdered, would you really approach that by yelling, "Hi, say my name! How do you feel about being murdered? Scream into this glorified bop it if you didn't like being murdered. Wave your hands over this evil disco ball if the person that murdered you is also here." Hopefully not. Of course, this is all television. Of course they're going to ramp things up for fun. The entire point of it is entertainment. But when all of the evidence that's ever presented follows along the same lines, blurs in dark corners of photos, static that's supposed to sound like a threatening voice if you listen really hard, weird lights in the sky that no one can capture high-definition footage of for some reason, it can make it difficult not to be a skeptic. But despite it all, there's just something that keeps pulling us back in. Whether it's a fictional show or film or reality TV, it makes a lot of thematic sense to pair a skeptic with a believer. It gives you the chance to explore everything from more sides, and to ideally uncover even more facets than might have been initially apparent. But skeptics who enjoy this kind of media often get hit with the question, if you don't believe, then why are you even interested in those kinds of things at all?
Oh, yay. A seance. I haven't done that since high school.
The reality is that being skeptical doesn't mean that you don't have that inner desire to explore the unknown. It just means that you connect with it in a different way, and have a higher bar for what it'll take to accept it into your thinking. Trying to go at these larger existential questions in a scientific way can ruffle some feathers, but it's the only way we'll ever be able to get real, concrete proof of anything. If we're going to be open to a cryptid or ghost or alien or other phenomena, it's going to have to meet the same burden of proof as anything else. But that doesn't mean it'll never happen.
Spontaneous human combustion.
Dear Diary, today my heart leapt when Agent Scully suggested spontaneous human combustion.
Mulder, there are one or two somewhat well-documented cases.
And there have been plenty of things that were thought to be fake that were eventually proven to be true, so it's not like it's impossible.
Because the FBI has nothing to hide.
And if anything, the skeptics' drive for real, undeniable evidence is what can help make it possible.
If you put salt around us, doesn't that mean, like, Goatman can't get to the Ouija board?
It would trap him in here with us.
What if he was outside of it when you did it?
Whether you're a skeptic, believer, or somewhere in between, it's always fun to think about what might be going on beyond our understanding. The interest in unexplained phenomena all stems from a desire for connection with and understanding of our world and the people and things in it. So it's not surprising that everyone gets pulled in sometimes. If we take on the search together, who knows what we might find out there.
If it's not too big a deal, maybe you can get me a few photographs of that thing which bears absolutely no resemblance to a horned beast.
Sure, fine. Whatever.
That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.